Now, the scene shifts to a group of hunters. They've spotted some rare silver slimes. There are 4 in total, and the hunters know they are valuable and tricky to catch. One hunter sneaks up ahead for a better view. He hides behind a tree and warns the others to be careful. They can't let the slimes get away. Just when they plan their move, a figure rushes toward the slimes without waiting for anyone. That figure turns out to be Yukito. In an impressive display, he takes down all 4 slimes with his one-handed sword. It's all about quick and clean strikes. As he defeats the slimes, a system window pops up. It tells him he's got some amazing S-rank loot, silver slime armor, gauntlets, and shoes. The items fall onto the grass, and a golden window offers a detailed look at each item. The other hunters can't believe what they just saw. One warrior hunter is astounded by Yukito's ability to hit critical strikes on every single slime. Meanwhile, a mage-type hunter stares in disbelief at the rare loot. "What a lucky guy," one of them mutters. Yukito just chuckles to himself. He checks his inventory, still amazed at what he's just earned. He feels like he's finally being rewarded for all the struggles he faced in his past life. A flashback hits, showing more of his history. He was once an old bronze rank adventurer, looking pretty forgettable in the world of adventurers. There he is, alone in a Tokyo dungeon. Other adventurers are getting ready for a challenge, but he stands off to the side. Suddenly, chaos erupts. Everyone's phones buzz with alarming news. Monsters are attacking outside the dungeon. Panic spreads fast. People start scrambling deeper into the dungeon, afraid of what might come next. In the midst of all this, a young adventurer tells Yukito to run and get out of there. This isn't the moment to hunt slimes, but Yukito just pulls away from the younger adventurer, ignoring the advice and heading straight towards some slimes he spots in the distance. The young adventurer watches him, noticing something different about Yukito. As everyone else runs from danger, someone bumps into Yukito, shoving him aside and calling him a slime geezer. He hits the ground, and his sword drops, but he doesn't let it get to him. He picks himself up and grabs his sword, continuing on like nothing happened. As Yukito walks, he thinks about the adventure system. He recalls how it works. You fight monsters to level up, which boosts your stats and can even grant you skills. It's the norm for adventurers, but Yukito's situation isn't the same. He checks his stats and feels down. Even though he's level 98, not a single stat is in the double digits. Newbies with minimal experience have better stats than him. Flashbacks show how hard Yukito fought. He tirelessly battled monsters, refusing to lose to anyone. His goal was to level up, even if it took him forever. He pushed himself to his limits, confronting weak monsters just to reach level 98. The struggle was real, but the rewards? Almost non-existent. Time and again, he fought like a champion despite his age. He recalls a moment when he dropped his broken sword after another battle, feeling totally worn out. He knew that level 99 was the highest possible level. His determination grew stronger. He just needed to reach it. With his fist clenched, he faced a group of slimes. He didn't care about how weak he felt. He charged in with fierce determination, fighting even bare-handed. He hoped for a shot at leveling up, thinking that achieving the highest rank would finally mean he reaped the rewards for all those years. In one intense moment, he bites down on the last slime. A system window appears, announcing what he has been waiting for: level up. Another window congratulates him for reaching maximum level 99. Emotion overwhelms him. He raises his trembling hands toward the window, pleading for a reward for his years of struggle. But the next window hits him hard. It tells him his strength has only increased by 1 point. He checks his status in disbelief. After all that hard work, he's only gained a single point in strength. Shocked, he falls to the ground. "Are you messing with me?" he cries out. "Was it all for nothing?" In that moment of despair, he reflects on his life filled with challenges. Tears come as he thinks of how he couldn't save his mother or keep his sister happy. The sadness becomes too much. Suddenly, he's crushed by a massive monster, and just as he's about to die, a window appears, saying a fatal error occurred with his status. Then, there's a repair patch, and his life rolls back to an earlier time. Another window gives him a huge boost in luck with a bonus of 9,999 points. He feels a soft voice welcoming him back. He opens his eyes to see a girl. She's from the Adventurer Guild and hands him his adventurer logo. "From now on, you're an adventurer," she says, smiling. Yukito feels confused, still trying to understand what's happening. The girl notices his confusion and asks if something's wrong. He gives a nervous smile. "No, I'm good." He grabs the logo and thanks her before wandering off to sort his thoughts. Once alone, Yukito pulls out his phone and checks the date. "If I remember right, this is the day I registered with the guild," he thinks. What a whirlwind. Memories flash through his mind about the bonuses he saw just before he died. He checks his stats window. At first glance, they look the same. But then he notices his luck stat is maxed out. Yako was in total shock. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. In his last life, luck was something that was hidden away. You couldn't really see it, and no one knew how much they had. Now, it was all right there in front of him. His luck was maxed out. Just thinking about the bad luck he had for 70 years made him feel more determined. He wanted to test his good luck right away. He decided to hunt slimes. It was a straightforward task and something he was familiar with. The scene shifted to a bright, open field. It was labeled Tokyo Dungeon First Floor. As he walked, he spotted a group of slimes and couldn't help but smile. "There they are," he said cheerfully. For a moment, he felt a spark of optimism. As he looked at the slimes in that peaceful field, he felt a wave of comfort. "It feels like home," he said softly. But just as he was gearing up to engage with the slimes, he felt something was off. He turned around and saw a shiny object in the grass. Curiosity got the better of him, and he moved closer. To his shock, he discovered a rare silver slime. This was an ultra-rare monster he had only seen once before in his past life. He remembered that the silver slime gave a ton of experience points, but was known for getting away fast. The last time he faced one, it slipped through his fingers. This time, he was determined not to let that happen again. He carefully planned his approach. He knew he just needed to take one more step to be in striking range. But then, out of nowhere, an arrow flew past him and struck the ground nearby. It startled him and messed up his plan. "What an idiot," he muttered angrily. Someone had shouted an apology, but he was furious. However, the silver slime was also startled by the noise and turned to look at Yako. Instead of fleeing, it charged at him. Yako quickly dodged its attack. He was shocked that instead of running away, the slime chose to fight. He got into a fighting stance just as the slime rushed at him again. This time, he was ready. He thrust his sword forward and hit the slime, breaking its core. With a sigh of relief, he saw the slime go down. To his surprise, he leveled up 4 times. But there was a downside. His weapon broke after the battle. He realized he needed something stronger. He tossed the broken sword into his inventory, feeling both proud and a little disappointed. As he took a moment to celebrate his victory, Yako noticed something shiny on the ground where the silver slime had been defeated. When he looked closer, he found a sword glowing brightly. "No way!" he exclaimed. This had to be an S-rank weapon. His heart raced with excitement. He picked it up. It looked powerful, but it had a tiny downside: it was less accurate. Still, Yako felt pumped. He was ready for more challenges. Soon, he spotted not 1 but 4 silver slimes coming at him. It felt unreal. They charged at him, forcing him to fight hard. Yet, he was determined to tackle it head-on. He swung his new sword with amazing precision, landing critical hits on each of them in no time. Each slime dropped more S-rank items, boosting his confidence and resources. Exhilarated by his success, Yako continued hunting slimes for about an hour. He fought 10 silver slimes in total, each battle bringing him rare loot. Eventually, His bag got so full he couldn't carry more. He reflected on how lucky he'd been. It was almost too good to be true. "My luck is real," he shouted, filled with joy. Exhausted but happy, Yako lay back on the grass, looking up at the sky. In that calm moment, he made a promise to himself. He wanted to use his powers for something meaningful. He didn't just want to become great for himself. He wanted to help his family. Most of all, he wanted his sick mother to get better and to see his sister get married. Those were the moments he dreamed of, bringing happiness to them. As he sat up, something hit him hard. Would he even have a home to go back to anymore? He had been alone for 70 years. That thought filled him with sadness. As he put his sword into his inventory, he felt a deep desire to go back home, a place he hadn't truly known for decades. Just then, a teleportation circle lit up around him. He stepped through, filled with determination to reunite with his family. He ran with urgency, shouting, "I have to see them, right now." He was resolved to make up for lost time and use this second chance at life. After a while, Yako arrived at an old apartment building, panting from running. He stood outside, trying to remember which room was his on the second floor. Memories flooded back of his time being homeless. He didn't even remember his room number. But then he spotted the nameplate, Room 203. His heart raced with nervous excitement. Feeling anxious about going inside his home, he reached for the doorknob. "Why am I this nervous?" he wondered. Gathering his courage, he whispered, "All right," and pushed the door open. The door creaked as it opened slightly, and to his surprise, a girl was inside. "Big brother," she exclaimed, welcoming him back. Overwhelmed with emotion, Yako hugged her tightly. "Numi," he called out, burying his face in her hair. She was surprised by his sudden hug and asked playfully, "Is this a prank?" But Yako couldn't let go. He held on tightly, his resolve strong. In that moment, he silently vowed never to let anyone take away what was precious to him. He felt a fierce determination to protect his sister and family with everything he had. The scene shifts to Yukito and Numi sitting together at a table. Yukito is excited. He shares everything that's been happening to him. He talks about his new luck stats and how they've opened up amazing chances for him. Numi listens with wide eyes. She asks, "Can we use this luck to save Mom?" Yukito smiles back at her. "Of course. All it takes is a bit of effort," he says, holding up his drink. His cheeriness shows he's determined to use his luck for his family. The next day, Yukito jumps into action. He trades some rare items he found on his hunts. This gets him a good amount of money. With that cash, he gets ready for an auction. He's ready to bid 10 million for a top-notch potion that helps with status ailments. Then the scene changes to a hospital. Yukito and Numi walk in, eager to see their mom. They knock on the door, and their mom's voice calls out warmly, asking them to come in. Inside, she smiles as she sees them. "How have you two been?" she asks, wrapping them in love and care. Yukito teases, "Mom, that's our line." Numi pulls out some souvenirs for her mom, who thanks them with a smile. But then she gently scolds them to not spend too much money on her and to look after themselves. Yukito reassures her, "Don't worry about money anymore." Numi, full of excitement, says they have one more gift for her. Their mom raises an eyebrow, intrigued. Yukito reveals a glowing potion. He urges her to drink it. Numi explains how Yukito earned the money from the dungeon just to buy this potion. Their mom is shocked. "How did you manage that?" Yukito, feeling shy, replies, "I was just lucky," downplaying his success even though it was a big deal. He hands her the glowing potion, saying, "Here, drink this." Their mom opens the bottle and takes a sip. Almost immediately, she starts glowing with magical energy. The siblings watch nervously. "How do you feel?" they ask eagerly. She smiles and tells them she feels lighter and can breathe easier. Yukito beams with joy. "That's great," he exclaims. Numi cheers, saying, "Good job, big brother." She gives him a high five, showing their strong bond. Their mom then jokes that the potion tastes terrible. Yukito laughs and pretends to offer her a palate cleanser. The potion starts working well. Her symptoms ease. The doctor confirms her illness isn't getting worse. She begins physical therapy to get back her strength. Soon, she gets permission to go home. This feels like a dream come true for her. Numi reassures her, "It's real. Look how much better you are." Their mom enjoys being home again, doing chores, and finding joy in simple things. Numi is super happy to see their mom doing better, but Yukito looks thoughtful. Numi notices. "Why do you look so troubled?" she asks. Yukito explains that the potion is just a quick fix. It can't cure their mom completely. "Numi, we need a legendary item," he says seriously. "Something like an elixir." Numi's eyes widen. "What do we do now?" Yukito explains that they need to get a really powerful elixir to fully cure her. Numi remembers seeing something on TV about this elixir. She tells Yukito that top adventurers have found it. The show explains how this elixir can save people who are very sick, but it's super rare. It only appears in dungeons below the 50th floor. "Plus, you can't buy it anywhere," she adds. Yukito nods, explaining that these unique items are special and tied to who earns them. He tells her they have to defeat a strong monster to get the elixir. This becomes their new mission. While washing dishes, they discuss their plan to get the elixir. Numi asks Yukito if he can go deeper than the 50th floor of the dungeon. The thought makes her anxious. It's a tough challenge, even for seasoned adventurers. Yukito jokes that it's usually impossible. He teases about dying at a dog's death, making Numi panic. She asks how they will get this done. But with a sly grin, Yukito says he mentioned normally. He hints that he has a plan that's different. Yukito remembers that his power isn't just about his luck stat. He has knowledge from his past life. He recalls something important. The elixir can show up on the upper floors of the dungeon too, not only the lower ones as everyone thinks. He imagines the tough golem that guards the elixir as a powerful foe. Speaking of the golem, Yukito explains that the elixir is a super rare drop from this monster. It only appears if the golem is defeated. But getting the elixir is really hard, he admits. It's one of the most sought-after items in the dungeon. Then he shares a memory he heard about. Just once, the elixir appeared in weird circumstances. This boosts his confidence. He smiles to himself while looking in the fridge. Numi sees his smile and teasingly asks about it. Yukito laughs and holds up a drink. "Yes, I really did smile like that," he says with a grin. Numi cheerfully tells him, "You can do anything because you're my big brother." Her belief in him lifts his spirits. He smirks, happy to be teased and motivated. He pours drinks into 3 glasses. "That's a given," he declares confidently. As he raises his glass, he mentions he has to make some preparations. Numi's eyes light up with curiosity. "What kind of preparations?" Yukito smirks again. Deep down, he knows there's always a loophole. He thinks, we have plenty more where that came from. Carrying his homie's photo Takahashi, Yukito thinks he requires some things before diving into the dungeon. First, he needs equipment. He takes the greatsword of the silver slime that is coated with slime tears. In the meantime, Nozomi reaches there. She curiously asks her brother if he is going to the dungeon. Yukito replies yes. She says other warriors wear heavy armors and asks if he is sure he will be fine with this outfit. Yukito scratches his head and calmly replies that is usually the case, but his stats are too low for that. Watching stats, Yukito thinks he is standing at level 21, and apparently he cannot increase anything except his luck. And with these stats, it is impossible to fully equip himself with the heavy gear. All he can do is to swing the greatsword. Besides all of these, he thinks he did learn a lot of skills by leveling up. He learned a skill of Great Layering Strike that unleashes a triple critical attack. Nozomi asks him if he is going to the 5th floor to raise his stats. Also, there are Alice crowns. Moreover, the monsters there have the rare drop miracle fruit. Reaching at the door, Yukito affectionately looks at her. Nozomi advises him to be careful and lovingly gives him a lunchbox. She says he might get full from that fruit, but he should also take it. Yukito takes it and leaves the house. He goes to the 5th floor of the Tokyo's dungeon that is casting demonic reflections. He moves ahead, looks at a monster-like plant and recalls why the dungeon is called so. Also, the dungeon is filled with plant-like monsters, making it easy to get lost. After that, he opens the map and thinks it is a still shallow layer that is already conquered by the other adventurers. Also, he has a map. He will not face any problem. Suddenly, he looks at the treant nest ahead. Treants are monsters that excel in ambushes using mimicry and look similar to the ordinary trees. Also, they have no veins in their leaves. Yukito throws a stone at it. Giant treant gets awakened. Courageously, Yukito swirls giant swords and pierces it with a single strike, and treant gets cut into 2 halves. After finishing the monster, Yukito thinks if someone gives them the surprise attacks, they are pretty easy to defeat. A small fruit is given as a reward that catches the Yukito's attention. He joyfully picks the fruit, takes a single bit, and says it has a weak taste of a pear or an apple. After that, he opens his stats and says it is alright, the taste does not matter. Important is that his stats are increasing. He thinks because of the minor stats boosting effect of the miracle fruit, he can't become strong with the trash stats. Yukito tells after that he hunted the treats non-stop. He continued hunting and eating, hunting and eating. After a large hunt, he opens stats and asks himself if he has reached his growth limit already. Finally, he is at the average level of a warrior. He anchors sword, yawns, and asks himself to finish the day. Suddenly, he turns back and sharply swirls his sword. He notices something bad and jumps away. 2 robbers come there. One is a dwarf named Hiroshi, and the other one is taller named Yamada. Yamada laughs weirdly and says Yukito hogging the hunting ground is not good. Hiroshi says they will teach the newbie some manners. Yukito says they have no adventurer identifications, and asks if they are crawlers. Hiroshi says he is saying the right thing. He asks Yukito to look at him, spoiled, relying on his gear. Yamada smirks weirdly and orders him to leave that equipment, which is clearly behind his position. At this, they will at least spare his life. Yamada is lying down. He seems to have gotten smashed badly. Yukito, looking at him, thinks that as a relief everything was activated properly, and the bee sting attack that the Nemi used is a skill that can be learned at level 25. And in other words, his enemy was a higher level than him. Yukito thinks the bee sting attack guarantees an accurate hit, so it can't be avoided, and in exchange the skill reduces attack power by 30%. But due to the silver slime tears, he enchanted clothes and has a 1 in 3 chance having the damage he received. He ponders, in other words, the damage he received was only about 30% of what it should have been. Yukito seems nervous. He thinks if he had not luck on his side, he would have a gaping hole in his stomach right then. On the other hand, Hiroshi seems stunned. His face is casting a glance of fear. He thinks he did not think Yamada would get taken down in 1 hit. Standing far, Yukito directs his swords to Hiroshi and says if he turns himself in he does not mind forgiving him. Hiroshi anyhow steps ahead. He directs his magical stick towards Yukito and makes a fireball. He tells Yukito that he should not underestimate him. The warriors are easy to handle from this distance. Yukito hangs the sword and says it is all right, he cannot exactly reach him from over there. Hiroshi thinks he is surrendering already. Yukito enters his hand in an invisible drawer and replies he is not surrendering. He withdraws a beautiful stick adorned beautifully with flowers. Yukito laughing says he will use the staff too. Hiroshi somehow laughs but seems threatened. He asks Yukito if he knows about his weapons. Yukito replies he knows it is a staff of nonsense, and he picked it from the fruitless torrent earlier. Hiroshi thinks about Yukito, and in the end he is just an amateur. Moreover, the staff of nonsense is a rare item, but it activates random magic, so that makes it an unstable piece of garbage. On top of that, there is also a bias when it comes to the odds. Also, the odds of casting useful spells are pretty low. There are 40 chances of it. Failing, then a 30% chance of casting beginner magic. Buffing or debugging is 20% chance, and casting intermediate level magic is only 9. And just hitting that 30 could actually be counted as pretty lucky. But it is impossible to cast the magic he actually wants with the Staff of Nonsense. Yukito swirls the stick in the air. Hiroshi thinks what he is using right then is the intermediate level magic fireball. And even if I does hit the 9% Vance and cast an intermediate level spell, his spell will be stronger because he has strengthened his magic power with equipment. Yukito laughs weirdly and proudly thinks he, a mage, is practically guaranteed to win. And this is the end of his beginner's luck. He throws the fireball at Yukito. Ball heads towards him, but Yukito seems relaxed. He just blows air and takes it easy. Yukito says that he finally uses it. Also winks, and replies he has also finished preparing his attack. Yukito swirls the stick and controls the fireball. He makes it bigger and throws it again on Hiroshi. When a large ball moves ahead to him, Hiroshi gets stunned. He feels fear a lot. He says it is impossible to draw the advanced magic meteor. His nose gets watering when the large fireball surrounds him. His nose starts blowing. Hiroshi asks himself if that is probably an illusion spell. Sweat pops out swiftly and large. He says it is very hot and anyhow requests to escape. He shrieks weirdly before the meteor strikes him with a sudden explosion. Fire flares splash abruptly. Yukito with his burned body is lying down in the dig. Yukito glares at a little flame on a broken stick. He blows air on it and throws it away. He passes a smile and says he is just way too quick. He says he has won. But suddenly he looks back at the crawlers and thinks he should not leave the crawlers alone. He breaks a bale from the tree and says it is Apian, but he should take them outside. After that he restrains them and swipes sweat, saying that it is fine now. He drags them and thinks they should get back above ground. Yukito returns and hands over the crawlers to the police. He says by the time the question is over the sun has already set. He seems tired. He enters the police office where he meets a lady. Yukito apologizes for being late and tells her got caught up in some trouble. The lady instantly asks if he is Takahashi Yukito-san. She laughingly salutes him and tells that the police have already informed them. Yukito says that is great. It means he does not have to explain all over again. She congratulates Yukito on his promotion. She tells Yukito that he has ranked up to silver. Yukito wonderfully asks if he has ranked up or if some kind of mistake has been made there. He says he has not done much yet. She tells Yukito ranking up to silver is not an easy feat. Usually it takes even talented people 3 years to do, and he has to hunt down requested items. She hands over some items and says he has to defeat some monsters to make the needed contributions to the guild. Lady says there is no mistake, and the 2 people he caught were part of the Red Arm after all. Yukito says Red Arm is a widespread organized crime group, and she is saying he earned a ton of contribution points by capturing them. Lady replies that is right, he did a good job capturing them. She says the 2 of them are equivalent to silver ranks adventurers. Yukito thinks it is real. He thinks he guesses they were actually pretty strong, then he could have been in big trouble back there. He laughs and holds the silver rank chain. Lady passes a smile to him and says there he goes again, and his modesty is surely silver rank too. She adds she is looking forward to his exploits beyond the 10th floor. She tells Yukito as the floors an adventurers can challenge is limited by their rank. Copper can go down to floor 10, silver to floor 30, and there are no restrictions for gold and adventurers. Yukito ties it around the neck and says it is all right, and he wants to clear the 20th floor at least. She replies he is rooting for him, but he should not know the 20th floor is quite difficult, and she very least suggests he should restrain from challenging it by himself. Yukito thanks her for advice. After that he leaves the lady desk and heads outside. He thinks he has ranked up much sooner than he had planned to. He asks himself if it does not mean running into those crawlers was actually a stroke of luck. He passes by a notice board upon which the gangsters' names are hanged. Suddenly an old man excuses him. He tells Yukito he trusts he can spare a moment of his time. Yukito replies sure and asks about the matter. Old man asks if he is the adventurer who defeated those gangsters, Yamada Jinbei and Hashimoto Hiroshi. Yukito says they actually attacked him, and he turned the table around. After that he suddenly speaks no more and stares at the old man's body, shivering with tears. Old man holds Yukito's hand and thanks sincerely. Yukito nervously looks at him. Old man tears the name of the both crawlers, saying that they killed his son, and even the police could not touch them, but he caught them for me. Old man starts weeping bitterly. Yukito tries to console him. He says he only did his duties as an adventurer. The old man bows down and thanks a lot. Yukito's eyes are also filled with tears. Old man says now he will go to his son's grave to tell him the good news. Yukito looks at the old man walking and says he does not think he was even thanked once in his previous life. He looks at his hand and thinks he is feeling pretty good now. He thinks the world will be destroyed unless something changes. By then he was already an old man. But now he knows the future. He asks himself if he should not think about it. He ponders he should get ahead of himself, and he is not strong enough to change the whole world. Yukito holds his head tightly. He encourages himself and says first he needs to save his mother, and that is his first priority. On the other hand, the leader of the Red Arm gang's temper is flaring. He blows his hand on the table. He loudly says he can't believe Yamada and Hashimoto got done, and now the other guys would not learn their lesson. Moreover, he would not be able to lay the tax to the big guy either. Saying this, he grasps the knife and stabs it in Yukito's image. Also, he would not let him get away with this. He weirdly says he will kill him, but he needs to be careful. Takahashi Yukito took down Yamada and Hashimoto all by himself after all, and there is no doubt he has got to be pretty strong. He carries his costume and says no matter how strong he is, he has his ways. He ties around him and says he is after him and Yukito's luck is going to run out. Yukito is very courageous for the next hurdles. He is standing in the beginning of the 15th floor. He is determined to overcome the lonely Death Mountain peak. He moves ahead and passes through a winding narrow passage. He thinks this is the place with winding narrow passages and treacherous terrain. Standing some other people next to him, he ponders because of its geographical features, it is difficult to clear it with the group. Moreover, it is hard to be noticed here that there are rumors of it being a breeding ground for crime. Suddenly, a giant eagle rushes towards him. Yukito looks at it. He thinks he will keep leveling up to challenge the 20th floor. He moves the sword vigorously, saying that he will finish learning skills and wants to level up by hunting silver slimes. But they have stopped appearing after hunting very much. Killing another breast, he says he will just have to focus on quantity. After that he smashes some other weird beast and acquires some new items of a sword, arrow, and bow. The leader of the Red Arm gang watches Yukito fighting alone. He oddly looks at the silver slime sword in his hand. He seems offended. He thinks empty hands and no armor represent the Takahashi Yukito. He wrenches his teeth and says he cannot believe Yukito is stepping into his turf. But there is no need to attack immediately, and he decides to wait for him to lower his guard. At night, Yukito sits near the fire. Gang leader notices him all day and even in the evening. He thinks Yukito sitting in the camp looks like he has planned to stay on this floor for a while. He hits upon a plan. He thinks that the bastard does not need his direct intervention. This is his turf. He has the upper hand there. He titters and thinks just like in the natural world monsters have an ecosystem too, and he will use that to his advantage. He goes to the nest of the eagle and kills it. After that he goes to a deep valley filled with locusts. He thinks he will reduce the number of predators and increase the amount of prey. He throws some feed of locust in the valley, and they start eating. He thinks monsters grow at a rapid pace, and if they eat pyramid crumbles they will start overbreeding. Gang leader returns home and says to himself it is time to see. He grasps a dagger thinking this is just a common accident when an unlucky adventurer will get caught in a swarm of monsters. He again goes to the Locust Valley and throws an agent that repels insect-type monsters, thinking it would not attract attention from the public authorities. He says himself it is the finishing touch. The locusts rise from the valley. He laughs weirdly and calls the locust to devour Yukito whole without leaving a bone behind. On the other hand, Yukito is busy fighting monsters. Suddenly, a sound of locusts swarm grab his attention. He asks himself about the sound. He gets threatened as watches the locust swarm. He fearfully asks himself if they are swarms of death hoppers. All are surrounded by locusts. He runs rapidly and thinks it is impossible to handle alone, and he will need to team up with other people. Moreover, he asks himself where he could find a gathering place for adventurers. Suddenly, he recalls in his previous life, he heard that there was a supply base on this floor by someone when he was talking about the triangular mountain base being built. Clearing lonely Death Mountain peaks became much easier. And it's a red dirt cave. He thinks for some reason it wanked in the walkthrough file. Yukito reaches the end of the cliff. He says there is no time to be lost. He slides down in the valley. An accident kicks on the frog beast. He touches the side of the mountain from bottom. He asks if it is the right place, because the color of soil is slightly different. He loudly calls the panic monster and asks it to come out because they need help. He gets angry as he looks the swarms chasing him. He again calls and says he needs to come out because it's an emergency, and moreover he will barge in if he has to. He stabs his giant sword in the cave and goes in. He gets amazed as he watches the adventurers who have been prisoned there. Yukito's eyes get widened.
The three captives, gagged and lying on the ground, looked both worried and confused. The protagonist, seeing them, jokingly asks if he walked into something strange. The captives panic, trying to communicate, clearly distressed. With a smirk, the protagonist skillfully dodges an incoming attack and swiftly moves past the captives, taking down enemies with his glowing weapon. There's a close-up of someone struggling against dark tendrils. Once freed, the captives express their gratitude, visibly relieved to be saved. The protagonist casually inquires about what happened, and one of the captives explains that they were attacked by crawlers and knocked out. The girl realizes they were being held for human trafficking. As the protagonist surveys the area, he confirms the crawlers' crime den and reflects on how this place was supposed to be a supply point for adventures. Suddenly, a thought strikes him. He wonders if he stumbled upon a future event. A vision flashes in his mind, showing police planning a raid on this location soon. In the future, this spot will become a hub for adventurers, and he smirks. Realizing he got here before it happened, he recalls how in his past life he was fixated on slimes for 70 years. The old man, oblivious to the passage of time, refers to the 40, 50-year-olds as snot-nosed brats. Feeling frustrated, the protagonist decides to push those thoughts aside for now. A close-up of his eyes reveals deep focus and concern as the group reflects on the unexpected situation. Acknowledging their limited manpower, the protagonist calls for everyone's attention, urgently warning them that a swarm of death hoppers is approaching quickly. A terrifying mass of deadly, insect-like creatures swarming toward them. As the captives panic upon realizing the sheer number of monsters, one man exclaims about the overwhelming presence of the creatures. The protagonist warns there's no time to waste and commands them to cooperate if they want to survive. Some captives are skeptical about escaping such a massive threat. A girl panics, noting they have no weapons or armor. Another captive explains that the crawlers stole all their equipment. With confidence, the protagonist reveals he has everything they need. He accesses his inventory, summoning a vast collection of high-quality gear that cascades around him. The captives are shocked as rare weapons and armor materialize before their eyes. He confidently offers to transfer ownership of the equipment to them. A muscular man is stunned, realizing these are top-tier items, while a young man and woman admire the rarity of the gear. Someone questions the protagonist's identity, finding him mysterious, noticing he hasn't appeared in any previous rankings. Excitedly, the captives start picking up their weapons, eager to fight. The girl confidently dons armor, stating that it's more important than weapons. A blonde man admires a glowing sword, realizing its high value. A girl in a mage robe wonders if they can really take all the equipment. The protagonist suggests he has a request but isn't forcing anything. He merely asks if they'll let him take command. Some members hesitate, but one points out that he saved their lives and provided them with powerful gear. The girl enthusiastically agrees to follow his orders, and a strong warrior declares his intent to fight, refusing to succumb to panic. The protagonist addresses the group, preparing them for battle. A flashback reveals a fierce battle among warriors. The protagonist looks tense, processing the situation, and expresses gratitude, perhaps for their trust in him. The blonde knight and a round-faced man stand ready, exuding confidence, while the protagonist maintains a serious and determined demeanor. A hand reaches out, possibly signaling a command. Strategizing, the protagonist suggests they use the cave's narrow entrance, explaining how limiting the enemy's entry will make the fight more manageable. He confidently commands them to focus on reducing the enemy's numbers. A serious-looking knight listens attentively, slightly tense, as a young girl in a maid outfit grips her staff, appearing concerned. With a smirk, the protagonist holds a glowing crystal, exuding confidence as he declares it's time for battle. Wielding his weapon, our hero dives into action, getting ready to strike just as a flying insect monster comes barreling toward him. He swings his weapon, sending out a powerful blue slash amidst the chaos surrounding him. A mage cloaked in purple casts a supportive spell, while enemies swarm from every angle. Suddenly, a fiery explosion erupts on the mountaintop, cutting through the enemy ranks. But then a wave of flying insects crashes forward like a tide. One big insect monster takes a direct hit, its head shattering from the force, but more insect foes keep pouring into the cave, bolstering their numbers as the battle heats up. A soldier in black armor grips his sword tightly, clearly losing his cool at the overwhelming enemy forces. Another soldier in red armor swings his weapon in desperation, realizing just how endless the monster onslaught feels. The protagonist slashes at the nearest foes, but it's like throwing pebbles at a tidal wave, leaving him to ponder whether they can really put a stop to this. As the ceiling begins to cave in, he looks up, eyes wide in shock, and quickly yells for everyone to retreat while keeping their formation intact. Cracks spider across the ceiling and debris starts raining down. Panic ensues as the swarm of insect monsters charges forward, forcing the group into a full-blown flight. In the midst of the chaos, they realize the enemies are tearing the mountain apart. With a look of determination, the protagonist weighs their next moves in a mine that's old and teetering, rocks tumbling from the ceiling. Abandoned tools and a stick of dynamite catch his eye, and suddenly an idea sparks. He holds the dynamite in his hand, mulling over its potential. Urgently, he tells everyone to look for more explosives around. A warrior hesitates but eventually recognizes the plan's merit. The group quickly gathers up dynamite, getting ready for what's next while still battling those relentless death hoppers. They rush back into the fray, fighting off flying monsters as the battle rages on for hours, leaving 2/3 of the triangular mountains in ruins. Cornered and trapped, a red armored knight realizes the walls are about to give way. But our protagonist, undeterred, searches for an escape, knowing they have no choice now. He rallies his remaining fighters for one last stand. Desperately, he demands all the dynamite be handed over. A bearded warrior doubts they have enough explosives to take the entire horde down, while a girl warns that using dynamite might be like dropping a pebble into the ocean. But someone confidently waves a bundle of dynamite, insisting it's enough. The protagonist reveals his plan to blow up the cliff and bury the enemies. As he studies the monsters' behavior, he figures out they tend to target whoever's racked up the most kills himself. A woman notices cracks forming in the wall, warning that the cliff is about to give way, and someone yells for everyone to run as the situation turns critical. A soldier questions if the protagonist intends to take himself down with the monsters. The protagonist just smirks, filled with confidence, telling them to believe in him. He stands alone, facing the monstrous wave charging at him, knowing that sometimes you have to take risks. Selecting all 13 sticks of dynamite, he leaps into the air as the monsters pursue him. With a grin, he goes at them while falling, though a warning flashes that he's not exactly skilled with explosives, carrying only a 50% success rate, and his warrior class makes it even less likely to work. But against the odds, the system confirms the explosives have been successfully deployed, resulting in a fiery explosion that engulfs the battlefield. The cliff collapses, sending a flood of monsters tumbling into the chaos. The protagonist watches destruction unfold around him, landing on a rock to steady himself just as debris falls nearby. He executes a flip in mid-air, evading falling rubble, gripping his sword tightly as he braces for a final blow. Channeling his ultimate move, the Great Layering Strike, he faces one last remaining monster. Brimming with power, he announces the battle's conclusion as he charges forward, unleashing a fierce beasting attack. He crashes into a massive armored foe, sending debris flying everywhere. He smirks confidently, ready to make his next move. His allies watch in astonishment as his attack loses momentum, but the protagonist stays resolute, pushing through despite the setback. He strikes the wall with all his might, but the impact shatters his weapon, sending fragments tumbling to the ground. Desperately, he reaches for something to grab onto, and just then, a wooden pole is thrown his way. Someone shouts for him to catch it. The protagonist lunges to grab the rope, clinging on just in time as his allies pull him with all their might. Relieved, he smiles, knowing they made it. The battlefield is littered with the remains of defeated enemies, but from a distance a massive swarm of monsters gathers, ready to strike again. Sitting on the cliff, the protagonist confidently declares victory, and his allies celebrate, grateful to have survived without losses. He smiles along with them, basking in the moment as a system message confirms he's taken out a large number of death hoppers. He earns the title Exterminator, which increases his damage against insect-type foes. Plus, his level rises by 3, and he gains a new skill, Warrior's Intuition. He took down the monster Panic with just one blow, even managing to defeat Shoy. If this keeps happening, those up top will come after me. It's all that bastard's fault, he thought, frustration boiling over. He slammed down a bottle in rage, shattering it violently. With his eyes glowing red, he screamed, "I'll kill you, even if it costs me my life! I'll get my revenge!" Meanwhile, the protagonist made his way to a bright, modern facility. Since that day, people have started to talk about him more. He's becoming quite famous, Mountain Crusher Yuko. His recent heroics have caught the attention of guild leaders who are competing to recruit him. But he simply declines, saying he's in a hurry. For now, he's avoiding making allies and is solely focused on getting the elixir, not forming bonds. In group battles, rewards are handed out randomly and the items dropped by other players have low rarity. Luck isn't everything after all. Yuko always worked solo in his past life, so sticking to that strategy seemed wise. As birds flew across the tranquil sunset sky, someone called out, "Yukito, eat as much as you want." He joined his hands in gratitude, saying, "Thank you for the meal." The girls happily echoed his thanks. Yuko took his first crispy bite, a smile spreading across his face. The taste brought back warm, nostalgic memories of family. "It's impressive that you've reached the 20th floor," she remarked. "Are you okay? I heard it can get really dangerous past that point. Only 15% of people make it past the 20th floor," she added, looking worried. Yuko smiled back, reassuring her, "I'll be fine. You know what I've done so far?" She glanced at his photo on the wall, pride evident in her eyes. "I'm so proud of how much good you're doing," she said softly, closing her eyes. "But no parent wants their child to suffer." Yukito quietly agreed, realizing no parent would want to see their kid in pain. A haunting memory of someone lost hovered in silence. No child wants to see their parents suffer either. "But Mom," he started, only to have his sister gently hold her hand. "Ona-chan is just too stubborn once he makes up his mind," she joked. "He's just like Dad in that way?" "Don't worry about me," Yukito said. "I'm doing this because I choose to." The family shared a peaceful meal together, smiles exchanged softly. He couldn't save his mom in his past life, and that painful truth still pierced his heart. As he reflected, he realized getting the elixir is essential if he truly wanted to begin anew. After finishing his meal, he respectfully said, "Thank you for the meal," before facing the dark, mysterious dungeon ahead, filled with ancient pillars. He stepped onto the crumbling stone path, his determination unwavering as he entered the 20th floor of the Tokyo dungeon, where the Great Wall defied physics. Yuko ran swiftly as eerie mannequins began to stir. Monstrous stone golems awoke, their eyes glowing blue. All the monsters here were inorganic, he noted, preparing his sword. With a powerful slash, he took down several enemies in one strike. "These heartless killers are a serious danger," he murmured to himself. Suddenly, a terrifying flying beast swooped down. Yuko slashed it mid-air with precision, leaving it shattered as he walked away calmly, planting his feet firmly to prepare for the next challenge. Facing a mysterious golem with a glowing eye, surrounded by red energy, Yuko believed he could win by analyzing its attack patterns. The golem wound up to strike, radiating intense energy, but he dodged its massive fists with swift movements, focusing intently. Ready to counter, he smashed his weapon into the golem's face, leaping away just in time to avoid a counterattack. Standing before a massive, mysterious blue door, he was filled with determination. "It's time to go," he declared as he opened the door, stepping into a new beginning and declaring the start of his new life. He stands there calmly as a beam of light shines down on him. Entering a huge room filled with mysterious symbols on the ground, he looks serious as the door shuts behind him. A glowing red magic circle comes to life, signaling the awakening of a giant. An enormous stone arm rises, covered in vines and glowing lines, showcasing the golem's massive limbs powered by ancient energy. The ancient golem stands tall, glowing with a mix of green and red energy, its red eye revealing it as the boss of the 20th floor. The hero clutches his weapon tightly, studying the golem's tough defense and its potent attack. With determination, he charges at the golem, ready to fight despite its intimidating size. He dodges swiftly, taking note of the golem's slowness. With a powerful glowing slash, he strikes the golem, convinced that wearing it down will be his best strategy. His ultimate goal: destroy the core, its weak point. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure smirks from the shadows, observing the battle. Another man watches secretly as the fight unfolds. In another part of the arena, a second golem begins to awaken, emanating dark energy. She watches in shock and confusion. Just then, the hero turns around in disbelief as the second golem appears right behind him. Realizing there's an intruder orchestrating this unexpected event, he can't sense anyone else nearby. He figures that someone must have accidentally triggered the boss fight. With his mind racing, he prepares for battle, fully aware that he's facing the 20th floor. Suddenly, a mysterious sword drops into the fray. With narrowed eyes, he considers his next move. He swings his sword with full force, clashing against something unseen. It's clear that this situation isn't just a random occurrence. Meanwhile, the hidden man clenches his teeth in frustration, surprised by how quickly the hero reacted, but he believes he still has the upper hand. Another man, watching everything on his laptop, seems unimpressed. The screen indicates that defeating the boss requires at least 4 players. He admits to having triggered the second boss on purpose, a wicked grin spreading across his face as he knows the boss won't notice him while the hero is occupied. He flaunts his stats, revealing he's a level 52 thief, far stronger than the hero. Using stealth, he keeps his presence hidden while chaos ensues. He strikes to draw the boss's attention toward the hero, then vanishes using a skill called Shadow Crossing. Confident, he lets the hero absorb all the damage from the boss, proudly displaying an S-rank invisibility cloak that allows him to sneak around without being detected. The odds are now unfair, a 3-on-1 battle. He prepares some poison, planning to up the ante even more. Throwing a poison dagger right at the hero, he aims to slowly trap and pressure him from a distance. The dagger makes contact, but to the thief's shock, the poison has no effect. How is the hero immune while wearing such light armor? Still smirking, the hero explains that the daggers are just distractions. He surrounds himself with a barrage of throwing spikes, setting up blue traps while hiding behind a pillar. The thief believes that using traps is the only way to secure a victory, preferring solitary tactics over unreliable allies. He trusts his traps more than anything else. Spraying more trap triggers around, he limits the hero's movement. His plan is to let the boss finish off the hero, but to his surprise, the hero lands a solid hit on the golem, shattering all expectations. The thief jumps back, watching the fight unfold from a safe distance. He stares in disbelief, sweat forming on his brow as the hero stands his ground. The hero smirks, mocking the thief for being out of tricks. Panicking, the hooded man realizes, "He found me." A man approaches him, sword in hand, demanding to know what's going on. He casually tosses a weapon, teasing, "You stalk me because you like me, right?" The hooded man blocks the attack, shouting, "How did you know where I was?" The guy smirks in response. It's called Warrior's Intuition. Pretty famous skill. Fuming, the hooded man retorts, "Stop lying! That skill can't detect high-level thieves." The man grips his sword, challenging, "And if I'm lying, what will you do? You gonna run away?" Gritting his teeth in frustration, the hooded man growls. The guy yells in rage, "Don't underestimate me," as he draws both swords, lunging downwards while shouting, "I'm better than you!" The two clash fiercely mid-air, swords sparking upon impact. With a powerful strike, the guy sends his opponent flying, smiling confidently as he says, "Only the last one standing gets to say that, don't you think?" 12. The system announces a huge win in spotting nearby dangers. The boy takes a look at the enemy's positions on a digital map. A bald warrior charges in, noticing the boy's speed. The boy blocks the attack and responds confidently. They go all out, clashing with their glowing blades. The bald warrior boasts about his own speed and precision. The boy reacts quickly, fending off several strikes. He even manages to resist a paralysis effect right in the middle of the fight. The bald warrior commends him for being ready for unusual circumstances. Another guy jumps into the air, keeping an eye on the battle. The boy slides back hard, trying to regain his footing. The enemy taunts him, saying his situation hasn't improved. The boy retaliates using his skill, Beast Sting, launching a counterattack. The opponent gears up for a powerful zigzag strike. The boy activates Butterfly Dance and moves quickly. He's taken aback when he realizes he missed his target. The enemy praises his evasive maneuvers and quick reactions. The bald warrior shouts that in the end, status will determine everything. A sharp attack lands, cutting into the boy's side, making him wince in pain. The enemy laughs, mocking how slow he's become. Then, a mechanical unit springs to life with glowing red eyes. The boy stumbles forward, struggling to stay upright. The enemy shouts that it's time to end this. He unleashes a rapid series of strikes. A large enemy robot readies a powerful slam. The bald warrior charges in, taunting the boy that he can't tackle them both. The boy remains calm, quietly preparing his next move. The robot crashes down, slightly damaged. The boy watches in silence, a bead of sweat forming. He stands ready, surrounded by his own traps. The bald enemy smirks, trying to get under his skin. He claims there are no irregulars on the 20th floor and charges in, activating his Scorpion Edge skill. The attack slashes at the boy, making him flinch. The enemy quickly follows it up with a fiery punch that sends the boy flying. His sword falls to the ground as he lowers his head, sweating in silence. The enemy leaps in for the finishing blow, shouting loudly. The boy smirks, revealing he was just pretending. He presses something on the ground with his hand, activating a glowing trap that ensnares the enemy. The bald man is stunned, realizing he's caught in a gravity trap. He struggles but can't seem to move right. Another character comments that there weren't supposed to be any traps left. The bald man mumbles in confusion, struggling to articulate. The boy explains that their intel only applied to standard conditions. He adds that the enemy underestimated how tricky this floor really is. The trap man starts sweating, sensing something is off. Suddenly, giant boss monsters come crashing down with powerful force. The boy says the double raid changed everything. He dodges skillfully as the bosses attack, smirking as he mucks the enemy for failing to detect the traps. The bald man screams in disbelief, shouting, "Impossible!" The bald man angrily demands the boy act like a real warrior. A giant enemy comes down and delivers a brutal blow, injuring him badly. He screams in pain as he crashes to the ground. Lying in a pool of blood, he whispers that it hurts. The boy lands safely while the robot looms above. A massive blow obliterates the area with deadly force. The man realizes he couldn't spot the hidden trap even with top-tier search skills. Bleeding and in shock, he questions how this could have happened. The boy smiles, saying he had been warning him from the very start. The injured man is sprawled on the floor, bleeding heavily. He growls in anger, refusing to give up. The boy nearby looks shocked at the chaos unfolding. Suddenly, the man erupts into maniacal laughter as a strange system screen lights up. He shouts that he's going to destroy everything and take everyone down with him. The boy, alarmed, yells back, questioning if he's lost his mind. As the tension rises, a loud alarm starts blaring. Then a countdown screen flickers to life, signaling that something critical is happening. An enormous explosion erupts, engulfing everything in flames. The boy screams in agony as the blast hits him, flinging him violently through the air. He crashes through the floor, falling into darkness, and hits the ground hard with a groan. Lying on his side, he mutters in pain, trying to regain his strength. When he finally looks up, he's stunned to see how far he fell. He didn't expect to find a third floor even deeper underground. Just then, two massive bosses land right in front of him. Realizing he's trapped, his eyes widen as he notices something else. Another man has discovered a glowing treasure chest. A smirk crosses the boy's face as he understands what this room is all about. It seems like this space favors swords and quick reflexes. standing alert. He assesses the tight area around him, quickly figuring out that there's barely any room to dodge the boss's attacks. He decides against confronting the two giants head-on and plans to use the room's layout to his advantage. One of the bosses charges straight at him, shaking the ground with its force. The boy barely dodges a massive punch that would have sent him flying. However, he winces as his leg takes a hit, quickly jumping back to reposition himself. His gaze shifts to the glowing treasure chest nearby, just as one of the bosses begins to charge up a powerful energy blast. The impact sends him crashing into the wall, and he collapses to the ground. Struggling to get up, he drags himself slowly, clutching his side and reassuring himself that his spine isn't broken. With a steely determination, he focuses his eyes, refusing to give in. He forces himself to stand again just as the boss readies for another attack. Once more, the boy crashes down. Barely able to move, he crawls forward, dragging his body through the blood. Agonizing pain shoots through him, making him scream. With trembling legs, he manages to stand, breathing heavily. Blood pours from his mouth, but his resolve remains unbroken. Fist clenched tight despite the pain, he pushes forward. The intensity of the pain makes him feel nauseous. He gazes at the glowing treasure chest in the distance, limping towards it with blood dripping from his every step. Gritting his teeth, he remembers that this hurt is nothing compared to what he's faced before. He cries out, feeling as though he can't even catch his breath. Despite the overwhelming agony, he forces himself to keep moving. Shouting defiantly, he demands the pain to submit. Finally, he reaches the chest and unlocks it with a burst of glowing energy. A magical golden ring floats out, catching his eye. He smiles proudly as he holds the shimmering ring, which activates with a brilliant blue symbol. The giant bosses notice this sudden surge of energy and react, their cores beginning to charge up in response. With the ring now on his wrist, he can feel its power coursing through him. With renewed confidence, he declares that he's still in the fight. He notices a rare item that grants the ability to teleport to another location. However, the system cautions him that his class isn't compatible with this tool. After some hesitation, he realizes it's his best shot. A second warning pops up, indicating that the chance to activate it has dropped to 35%. Suddenly, a giant boss charges right at him. The option to activate the warp appears, asking him yes or no. As he struggles to use the item, the enemy's attack rushes toward him. Just in time, he activates the warp bracelet as the attack lands. A burst of energy hits the boss, knocking it back. The giant robot falls to the ground, looking defeated. The bracelet lights up as the teleportation sequence starts, confirming that the warp was successful. He gets pulled through a glowing portal but winces as he realizes the teleportation didn't quite go as he hoped. One of the boss robots suddenly reactivates, its red core shining brightly. It fires a massive red laser at him, which smashes into the wall and leaves a huge dent. Injured, he can't help but think about how tough these bosses really are. Despite the damage they've taken, they're still up and ready to fight. Without a second thought, he activates the warp bracelet again. This time, the teleport works, placing him right behind the enemies. He attacks one from above, casually mentioning he's used to doing repetitive tasks. But right after his strike, he gets knocked back and crashes into a wall. The boss charges at him with a powerful punch, but he dodges just in time while the system processes his moves. Once again, the warp bracelet activates, teleporting him away. He slashes at the boss in midair right after the warp. The robot spins around quickly, tracking his movements. Another successful teleport confuses the enemy. He holds his weapon tightly near a glowing gate, wondering to himself, how many times do I have to do this? Pushing forward, he shouts that he will never give up. He charges full speed, smashing through a wall. The boss swings its arm, but he dodges using warp energy. He strikes the enemy with a glowing blue blade, causing its core to start cracking from the force of his attack. The warp bracelet activates again while he's in midair. His next strike hits directly and turns the core bright green. The bracelet activates once more, creating glowing portals. He falls through one of them, legs bloodied. Landing between the two fallen bosses, he's determined to finish the fight. He clenches his fist, declaring he'll keep attacking until the core is shattered. The two bosses reactivate, their eyes glowing red. He teleports above them, preparing for another strike. The bracelet glows again as he launches into a high-speed attack. His sword slices into one of the boss's cores, breaking apart pieces. The purple core cracks even further from the damage. He activates the bracelet again and charges ahead, leaping into the air to slam down hard on the enemy. He yells that the golems have no will of their own. The damaged core shows signs of deep internal injury. Another blow sends energy pulsing through the core. He prepares his finishing move, called Great Layering Strike. With determination, he crashes his weapon down once more. The golem's core shines brightly, ready to react. His final strike shatters the golem into glowing fragments. Exhausted, he drops to one knee. The golem's core breaks apart, signaling its defeat. As he begins to fall, the shattered pieces vanish around him. A warning from his bracelet alerts him that his usage limit has been reached. He lies motionless in the crater left by the battle. A system message confirms that Takahashi Yuko has defeated the ancient golem. He receives a legendary L rank item, an elixir. Slowly, he opens his eyes, still weakly on the ground. Two green elixirs float in front of him, glowing with power. Realizing their importance, he smirks slightly. He quickly uncorks one and drinks it without hesitation, then downs the second bottle with both hands. The healing liquid flows through him as he tilts his head back. Green energy swirls around. Starting the restoration process, he glows as the elixir completely heals him. Gazing at his hand in awe, he watches the green energy slowly fade. Finally, he lies back, relaxing after the brutal battle. Light shines down from above. illuminating this moment of peace. He opens his eyes slowly, realizing he survived. Smiling, he holds up the remaining elixir and acknowledges that he somehow made it through. A message appears, stating that Takahashi Yuko will earn a title for meeting special conditions. He gains 3 titles: Survivor for +10 Endurance, Solo Double Giant Killing for +20 Strength, and Enforcer of Justice for +10 Dexterity. Yukito opens up his inventory and picks an item, smiling confidently as he holds up the tablet. Standing right there in the middle of the arena, he gets ready to activate something. A swirling portal forms beneath him as he teleports. When he comes out on the other side, he finds himself in a dungeon corridor. Cautiously, he looks ahead and spots something that catches his attention. It's a bloodied corpse lying still on the stone floor. Yukito wonders if he can use this gruesome evidence against Koji. He drags the body over to a large door and pushes the double doors open with a lot of determination. A resolute look crosses his face as he steps into a glowing portal, body in tow. He zaps back to the real world from the dungeon. A girl gasps in shock when she sees him. She cheerfully guides him as others observe. A sharply dressed man says they want to interview Yuko for some public relations stuff. Yuko thinks he doesn't have time for this kind of distraction and tightly grips the elixir in his hand. He apologizes, saying he's got something more urgent to attend to. He heads out of the building as the sunset casts a warm glow over the city. He picks up his pace, walking faster. People on the street recognize him from the news, where they celebrated Yukito for being the fastest to clear the dungeon. With a clear purpose, Yuko walks through a residential area. He reaches a door, ready to open it. His family greets him warmly as he steps back into the home. Holding the elixir, he softly tells them he's back. The scene then shifts to a hospital building, where Yuko is seated with his sister and mother before the doctor. The doctor shares that the test results are in. Yuko and his sister react with surprise when the doctor declares her illness is cured. Yukito beams with joy and his sister is taken aback. The doctor smiles, confirming the elixir's incredible effects. His sister jumps into their mom's arms, overwhelmed with happiness and tears. The doctor acknowledges Yuko's role in this and they all sit together, a united front. Their mother, with teary eyes, thanks Yuko sincerely. He lowers his head, absorbing the moment quietly, and smiles as he thanks her for raising them. For the first time, he finally articulates what he's kept inside. A flashback reminds him of the old man who had guided him. His sister playfully chastises him for getting too emotional in front of the doctor. She says those talks should wait until they're home, turning away shyly, and he agrees with a small smile. She laughs, wiping her face, still flustered. Meanwhile, a mysterious man watches them quietly from a hallway. The family relaxes in the hospital room. The man retreats, commenting, "It's all very saddening." He reflects on what a good-natured family they are. Dressed like a knight, he says they will soon drown in sorrow, smirking, relieved that they're already in a hospital. Approaching solemnly, he notes they did their best but couldn't save her. He glances at the lifeless body and remarks how she still seems warm. Mockingly, he questions whether her cause of death was a heart attack. Out of nowhere, he attacks the girl's corpse with dark energy. The boy arrives just in time to counter the knight's strike. The knight is taken aback by the sudden interruption. The boy shouts, demanding to know what the knight is doing. Stunned, the knight asks how the boy is still able to move, demanding an explanation. The boy recognizes the knight and is shocked. The knight, brimming with confidence, introduces himself. Text displays that he's the top-ranked adventurer hero. They call him the Savior. The hero introduces himself as Duel Cosmuset. His adventure ID confirms his status as a hero. The boy questions why a hero would attack Nomi. The hero smirks, saying it's his turn to ask the questions. He points out that only someone like them could move within the void barrier. The older man explains that only those who've faced death can move like that, leaving the boy astonished. The hero deduces there's only one logical explanation for what's happening. He boldly asks the boy if he's also a regressor. The boy realizes it's also his second chance at life. The hero points out that since the boy is a regressor, this conversation should be straightforward. He gets ready to battle, mentioning he has no option but to get rid of the sister. The boy is puzzled about how his sister relates to the world's destruction. The hero replies that she's one of the reasons for it. The boy remembers the system alert about Nomi's impact. Feeling uneasy about the implications, he recognizes a man in a wedding picture and exclaims, "It's him." The hero explains that the man is a significant figure globally, and he happens to be Nomi's future husband. He adds that the failed marriage had a devastating effect on this man, which contributed to the chaos in the world. This is why the hero feels compelled to eliminate the sister ahead of time. He smugly asks if his explanation makes sense. The boy responds that the current timeline is different from what it used to be. He confidently declares that he has already healed his mother's illness, meaning Nomi doesn't have to struggle for money anymore. In a flashback, we see Nomi walking alone at night, illuminated by the city lights. Another memory surfaces, showing Nomi smiling with a drink. The boy declares that stopping her from meeting that guy is the best course of action. He resolves to protect her at all costs. The hero concedes that the boy might have a point. But then, narrowing his eyes, he summons a glowing dagger and readies his sword. The boy insists he won't allow Nomi to die in front of him. The hero acknowledges that would be a problem and he'd rather not have to kill him. He explains his intention is to save lives, yet he's prepared to eliminate anything that blocks his path. The boy urges the hero to hurry up and leave. The hero grins as if he's just had an epiphany. He suggests a duel to prove that change is indeed possible. The boy is baffled, questioning how they wound up in this situation. The hero claims he just wants to see if the boy is genuinely unique. The boy sarcastically praises the hero's arrogance. The hero laughs, admitting he's above the boy. His status screen reveals his impressive level and dominance. The boy is taken aback by the vast difference in their abilities. He comes to the realization that the hero's stats are way too high for him to compete against. The hero casually reassures him not to fret, saying the answer is simple. Leaning in, he warns the boy to safeguard what's dear to him. Whether it's the world or the ones he loves, it's his responsibility now. The boy envisions the possible outcomes and looks up at the hero. The hero powers up, declaring he'll put the boy's strength to the test. Now energized, the boy prepares himself for the confrontation. He recalls that with the sword's aid, he might be able to protect those he cares about. He decides a temporary fix won't cut it. He's determined to protect everyone, even if it costs him his life. Stepping forward, he agrees to the fight. The hero enthusiastically accepts his choice, reassuring the boy there's no need to be scared. Drawing his sword, the hero recognizes the boy's determination. He activates a magical device, explaining that the barrier will only hold for 10 minutes. It's fine, he says, as long as the boy survives. When the boy asks if they're going to fight here, the hero jumps out of the window to avoid wrecking the hospital. Looking back, he suggests they change the setting. He leaps into the sky through a void barrier outside the hospital. The boy glances at the window, preparing to leap after him. He thinks of Nomi and declares with certainty that he'll protect her. With unwavering resolve, he jumps out, charging into the fray. The new battlefield is set up just outside the hospital. The blonde warrior steps forward and says, "This place should work." The boy gets ready with his weapon, telling him to take it easy. The blonde grins and replies, "They'll start now," flicking his finger to unleash the magic. Suddenly, multiple glowing circles of magic appear in the air. The boy dodges the first wave of attacks, shouting if this is way too much for just a tutorial. More powerful magic blasts head towards him from all sides, and the blonde smirks, saying, My. Then, several clones of him pop up behind, forming a line. The boy's eyes widen in shock as he thinks the blonde is multiplied. The blonde explains that these clones are for when you're surrounded. He jumps into the air to attack, calling it a practical test. The boy powers up and yells back defiantly. A screen appears, showing he's activated Executive Dolls X2. Dolls appear beside him. He charges in for a direct clash with the blonde warrior. The boy takes a hit and stumbles back, gritting his teeth. One of the dolls gets destroyed, and the blonde comments that he's well prepared. He teases the boy, noting he didn't just play defense. The boy agrees and stands ready, flames and magic swirling around him. He mentions that he can use items at the same time, calling it pretty convenient. In midair, he throws several items at once toward the blonde. Explosions erupt where the blonde stands. The boy admits he doesn't expect to win but hopes to achieve at least a little something. He observes the situation and says, "I see." The blonde acknowledges the boy's regression bonus and reveals his own ability as a void barrier. The blonde adds that the boy's regression bonus must be good luck. After the blast, he realizes only the clones were taken out. The boy smirks, noting how the blonde can see through everything. The blonde replies, calling it an obvious deduction from a seasoned hero. The boy realizes all of this must look amusing to the great hero. The blonde man mentions he believes luck is part of a person's abilities, but there are threats out there that can't be tackled with luck alone. He starts summoning powerful forces, announcing the beginning of his move. He reveals that he exists to counter the boy. A goddess-like figure glows in blue while a green elemental spirit appears. More powerful creatures colored red, blue, and others gather behind the blonde. The boy simply responds, "Yeah, I'm ready to face them." He acknowledges he can't rely just on luck to beat the hero. Remembering the hero's status screen he saw earlier, he notes the hero's luck stat was surprisingly low. He hesitates, not wanting to do anything that might harm the innocent, but he realizes he has no choice. It's strange that he feels no hesitation. A flashback of a hooded figure crosses his mind, and he wonders if his determination to save his family is pushing him this far. A memory of a smiling girl flashes in his mind as he confirms he made his decision long ago. He charges forward into battle with his allies. The red fire spirit launches an attack. The hero declares that all this still isn't enough to challenge the world's strongest authority. The red spirit rushes in full force. The blue spirit counters with equal strength. The boy stands alone, thinking he must capitalize on the hero's bad luck. He prepares to use a special ring item, then activates the ring on his wrist, urging it to work, leaving the outcome to fate. A warning pops up, stating his profession isn't compatible with only a 50% activation chance. Another warning says his magic power is insufficient for 30% success rate. As the system analyzes, he braces for the worst. Against the odds, the warp succeeds. A bright portal opens, revealing a path for either escape or strategy. The warp portal drops the boy onto a car in the middle of a bustling city street. As he steps down, onlookers watch curiously. Observing from above, the hero notes how convenient the warp bracelets are. Floating alongside elemental spirits, he confidently asserts that magic is all he really needs. The boy readies himself for a fight, declaring that if this is some kind of test, he'll be testing the hero too. With a smirk, he questions whether a true hero would ever drag innocent people into a battle. The hero catches on, smirking back as he acknowledges his role. He floats above the civilians, claiming that a hero's job is to protect. The boy quickly points out that large-scale magic won't fly here. The hero takes this in stride, drawing his ornate sword. He mentions that even swinging it around could be dangerous, but dismisses it as not a real handicap. He sends a flurry of golden energy arrows soaring into the sky. Meanwhile, the boy evaluates his gear options. He figures that putting on the shield gear will boost his chances of survival. Once equipped, he braces himself for the incoming threat. The hero nonchalantly mentions he's used to facing opponents like the boy. Then, from above, he unleashes a powerful golden attack. Just in time, the boy blocks it with his shield and takes off running to evade the next onslaught. More golden arrows come crashing down as he navigates through the chaos. He barely dodges and manages to deflect them. Suddenly, a gas pipe bursts, adding to the mayhem. The hero strides forward calmly, mentioning how monsters disguised as humans and crawling creatures have turned cities into perilous places, especially as the end times approached. The boy replies casually, "Is that so?" He jumps up, explaining that he mostly stayed cooped up in dungeons during that time. For him, the surface was just a place to gather supplies. He lands gracefully after leaping off an AC unit, acknowledging that he hadn't thought seriously about such risks before. The hero attacking expresses his disappointment. He follows up with a heavy blow, stating he wanted to learn about the past from those who were aggressive. The boy defends himself, saying that his past life felt like a completely different existence. He admits there's not much he can share about it. The hero encourages him to take in the blue sky more often. He delivers another strike, forcing the boy to shield himself. The impact fractures the ground beneath them. The boy crunches down, saying he's accustomed to tight spaces. The hero teases him, saying he's not looking for a coward. The boy grips his shield tightly, claiming that even if the hero talks big, he can't control his body's instinct to react. He tries to slip away, but the hero is quick to chase him down, accusing him of running away again. Clenching his teeth, the hero expresses his frustration. He charges up magic, demanding proof that the boy can win. He warns that if the boy can't, it's best to just give up and flee. Magic beams start raining down as the boy blocks them. Dodging skillfully through the onslaught, he sarcastically retorts, "Really?" He counterattacks, landing a solid hit. The hero responds coolly, "Then it's the end for you." The boy focuses, his eyes glowing green, and charges toward a towering structure with determination. Timing it just right, he strikes quickly with his weapon. The hero, caught off guard by this sudden move, feels the blow crack the large structure. The boy flashes a confident smile and says, "Time for my counterattack." Suddenly, the hero leaps down from above, catching the enemy off guard. With a look of shock, the foe yells as bolts of lightning crackle around him. The hero, looking serious, admits that he can't escape this attack entirely. A girl watching comments on his bravery, noting he'd never abandon innocent people. Yukito, calm as ever, responds that he faces situations like this every day. She praises him for his kindness, saying that's exactly the kind of quality a hero should have. The hero smiles, still a bit taken aback. Yuko, with a smirk, tells him he understands how he feels. As another bolt of lightning strikes, Yuko insists he must protect everyone, no matter what. The blonde hero widens his eyes, shocked by the scene unfolding. A powerful bolt of lightning crashes down from above. The impact demolishes a structure, scattering debris everywhere. The blast shakes the ground, causing a tremor and sending flames roaring up from the explosion zone. The hero, in disbelief, yells that it was indeed an explosion as fires rapidly spread. He shouts for someone named Lumine to put the fire out. A wave of blue energy collides with the flames, trying to contain them. But Yukito realizes they aren't using enough water to really douse the fire properly. Despite their efforts, the flames rage on, spreading uncontrollably and exacerbating the situation. The ground shakes and buildings begin to crumble under the pressure. The blonde hero yells out, aghast at what he's witnessing. Suddenly, a green magical object appears, and he recognizes it, astonished. As magic swirls around, a girl in yellow gets ready to spring into action. She rushes forward at high speed, carrying another girl to safety. A green energy blast sends a car crashing down into the ground, shattering the street beneath it. Yuko takes off, moving closer to the action, and calls out to the enemy, asking if he's forgotten about him. The blonde hero responds that he can't help Yuko while dealing with the current threat. The enemy mocks Yuko, doubting his attacks would even cause any harm. Yuko admits he might not hurt him, but he can still throw him off his game. He lunges and strikes, aiming to disrupt the enemy's concentration. The blonde hero yells, trying to get attention as he jumps down, saying there's a survivor trapped beneath the rubble. Yuko warns him that helping someone drink muddy water won't save them. He then launches his attack and reminds the hero not to lose focus during a fight. The hero, shocked by the sudden assault, stumbles and falls into the mud. Covered in muck, he groans while Yuko claims he still has much more left to give. Frustrated, the hero yells in disbelief as Yuko pulls out even more items with casual ease. Finally, the hero throws up his hands in surrender, admitting defeat. Once the chaos settles down, the city stands calm under the sunlight, which shines over the damaged buildings. Yuko and the blonde hero walk together, contemplating what just happened. The blonde admits Yuko's comments were surprisingly profound. He realizes Yuko used knowledge from his past life to anticipate the attacks. Yuko nods, confirming that's exactly what he did. The blonde hero pieces it together, saying he figured out those attacks were aimed at where past incidents occurred. Yuko acknowledges he remembered those locations all too well. A flashback reveals a tragic explosion from the past. Yuko is shown quietly praying at a memorial, reflecting on someone he lost. Yukito thinks back on his painful past life, admitting that those memories can be useful sometimes. He points out that the recent battle's success proves it clearly. The blonde hero praises Yuko again and gives him a cheerful thumbs up. As he takes off into the sky, he tells Yuko to hang on just a little longer for that possible wish. Yukito, taken aback, responds with a confused, The hero explains that repairing the hospital by himself is going to be a challenge. He points out that only he can truly fix the damage properly and reassures Yuko that he'll have to return to the hospital sooner or later. He then laughs, claiming it still counts as another win against disaster. Yuko, still confused, asks what a curse-born disaster even is. The blonde hero looks taken aback and a bit puzzled, muttering, "Eh?" He brings up the tragedy that supposedly occurred at the hospital, thinking Yuko must know about it since he mentioned it. Yuko calmly responds that he actually has no idea. The hero chuckles awkwardly, assuming Yuko is just joking again. Yuko insists he truly doesn't know anything about that situation. Frustrated, the blonde points out how Yuko seemed to be aware of the other disasters. A flashback shows one of the fiery explosions Yuko had predicted. Yuko explains that he spent most of his past life trapped in a dungeon, completely oblivious to what was happening outside. The blonde hero suggests that Yukito's memories might be skewed. Yuko acknowledges he has no recollection of the tragedy they're discussing. The hero admits that makes sense given the nature of the disaster and size, agreeing they don't have time to dive into details. He warns that the void barrier is almost gone. Yuko watches as the sky above begins to change. The hero urges Yuko to get to the hospital quickly. Yuko stops him, puzzled about why the hero is suddenly giving him this task. The hero replies that he intends to go there as soon as possible. He warns Yuko that if he hesitates, there could be many casualties. Yuko looks taken aback, quietly processing the hero's words. As the hero takes off, Yuko tries to call out to him, but it's too late. Clicking his tongue in frustration, he decides to head to the hospital for now. Someone adjusts their bracelet, probably getting ready to teleport. A glowing portal appears right in the middle of a city street. People stroll by, oblivious to the looming danger. The hospital remains peaceful and untouched under the clear sky. A doctor tells a family that regular checkups should suffice for now. A woman bows gratefully, thanking Yuko sincerely. He nods quietly and walks away without saying much. He thinks to himself that he doesn't want to give them false hope. He admits he's unsure about what's going to happen next. Grabbing a door handle, he pauses to reflect. For now, knowing the hospital is safe is enough. He steps into the hallway, planning to head home soon. Wyan cheerfully mentions that she's feeling hungry now that she's calmed down. One of the women suggests they grab a bite on the way home. Yukito declines, saying he'll cook for everyone himself this time. The two girls are surprised and excited by this unexpected offer. Yukito adds that he'll try to do it occasionally, despite being a bit out of practice. The woman proposes they go with whatever Yuko decides, and the girl agrees. Yuko quietly observes them, finding it surprisingly peaceful. Then he walks away with a serious expression. Yukito thinks to himself that the morgue must be off limits to outsiders. He heads toward the male toilet area, likely as a cover. Wearing a white hooded cloak, Yuko walks through the hospital in disguise. He reflects on the item he obtained from defeating Kidou, recalling how he used it to fend off a small group that attempted to attack him. Even though he was forced into it, he feels hesitant about using sneaky tactics. A man he passes gets startled and bolts away, thinking he saw a ghost. Yuko enters the elevator headed for the restricted morgue level. He mutters about the curse-born disaster and questions what it even means. Unsure, he ponders if he's heard of it before or if it's entirely new to him. Yuko remembers how Kidou used to navigate places like this. Now it's his turn. The elevator reaches the basement level marked B1. Stepping out cautiously into the dim corridor, Yuko notes how eerily quiet it is and wonders if there's really a threat lurking. Just in case, he decides to stay alert while moving forward. He activates a device to scan for threats, and the screen shows no signs of danger. At least, not yet. Yukito narrows his eyes, still wary of what could be hiding ahead. Standing before the morgue door, he thinks, here it is. He slowly opens the door and steps inside carefully. The room is dim and cold, lined with covered bodies. He approaches one and gently pulls back the sheet, noticing a necklace on the corpse and studying it closely. Yukito mutters that the body is scheduled for cremation tomorrow. Suddenly, eerie sounds begin to echo around the room. He glances around, staying alert for any changes, but everything remains still. Yuko reads a report and wonders if the hero was just messing with him. Out of nowhere, his scanner flashes red, signaling a threat. One of the corpses starts to twitch and rise unnaturally. A long-haired woman awakens, her eyes glowing with malice. Undead bodies begin to rise around the room, groaning ominously. As a terrifying zombie lunges at him, Yuko realizes what's happening. He pulls out his glowing sword and calmly states, "It's easy to understand," when a young man armed with a sword stumbled upon a swarm of zombies. Surprised, he wondered if they were really zombies. He steadied himself, readying for a fight. This, he thought, was the moment he had been waiting for, the point where the bravest adventurers faced the undead. As he fought, he moved with skill, taking down zombies with precision. One quick strike sent a zombie crashing down. He kept fighting, his movements deadly and accurate. Notably, he realized these zombies weren't created by a virus but something entirely different. The battle showcased his impressive skills against the horde of the undead. The scene shifts to a dimly lit room that resembles a hospital ward, with several beds scattered about. A man with dark hair and clothing moved quickly, striking a woman. She had flowing blonde hair and was already in decay, a victim of a curse. The narration makes it clear that this decay stemmed from a curse. In the next panel, the man's attack becomes more focused, capturing the moment he struck the woman's leg. The narration reveals that these are corpses cursed by spirit-type monsters. We then see the man face off against two more people afflicted by this curse. One is a pale woman with dark hair, and the other a shorter individual with lighter hair. The narration explains that if these corpses aren't buried within a specific time, they'll transform. A young man wielding a sword found himself surrounded by zombies. He reacted with surprise, muttering about them being zombies. He then fought back, his movements swift and precise as he dispatched several of the undead. He paused, reflecting that this was the time he'd heard about the leading adventurers reaching a floor of the undead. The fight continued, the young man skillfully dodging and striking down more zombies. He noted that these weren't the result of a virus, but something else entirely. The final panel showed him continuing his battle against a particularly aggressive female zombie. The scene opens in a dimly lit room, possibly a hospital ward with several empty beds. A dark-haired man in dark clothing swiftly moves, his movements suggesting combat. He engages a figure, seemingly a corpse, reanimated by a curse. This curse, the narrative explains, is a result of a particular type of spirit monster. The reanimated corpse is described as having received the curse. The man fights the creature, his actions implying a struggle. The narrative then explains that if corpses afflicted with this curse aren't properly buried within a specific time frame, they transform into cursed corpses or zombies. The man continues his fight, facing multiple cursed corpses. One of these corpses is a blonde-haired individual, also in a state of reanimation. The fight is intense, showing the man's skill in combat against the undead. He manages to subdue them. The narrative shifts to explain that the curse can spread to other corpses. The man reflects on a past life, where such corpses were dealt with through a specific ceremony. The final shows the man kneeling before 3 closed caskets, suggesting a somber reflection and the weight of his current situation. A young man, seemingly alone, reflects on a secret in this life. Nobody knows about it yet. He's in a dimly lit room, possibly a hospital ward with a distinct teal-green hue. The room is sparsely furnished with metal beds. He acknowledges the common knowledge that curses don't affect the living. He then proceeds to check under one of the beds, revealing a zombie-like creature. He realizes he needs to avoid being bitten by the zombies. He skillfully dodges a zombie's attack, narrowly escaping its grasp. He then uses a piece of furniture as a shield, knocking it over to create distance between himself and a pursuing horde of zombies. His focus is on staying uninjured. He continues to fight off the zombies, using his agility and a weapon to fend them off. A final panel shows him successfully dispatching several zombies with a swift, powerful attack. A dark-haired individual, wielding a long, slender blade, thrusts it forward, impaling a man lying on a hospital bed. The man is sent flying backward by the force of the blow. Thinking about the need for a surefire method to reduce the number of enemies, a zombie-like figure, its face contorted in a gruesome expression, appears, its hand reaching out from behind a door. The attacker notes that this individual was once a well-known adventurer. The attacker confronts the zombie, explaining that its abilities are useless now that it's undead. A young man with dark hair and piercing green eyes stood in a dimly lit corridor. He appeared tense, his expression questioning as he considered something. Suddenly, 2 figures burst from a doorway, a man and a woman, both appearing injured and disheveled. They seemed distressed and were moving quickly. The man was in a brown jacket, the woman in a dark dress. The young man paused, considering the situation. He then focused on the pair, deciding to deal with them first. He moved swiftly, incapacitating the man with a powerful strike. The woman fell to the ground as well, seemingly already injured. The young man hesitated. His intuition told him that these two weren't hostile, they were neutral. He realized the woman was not a monster. A radar-like display then showed several red blips on a screen indicating other threats nearby. A woman cried out in terror, begging for help. A man, seemingly unfazed, arrived on the scene. He expressed surprise at finding her still alive. He observed that someone had come to collect the bodies, likely from a funeral home. He noted that there was no hope of saving someone already turned into a zombie, but there was a way to cure a living creature who had just been cursed. However, he doubted they possessed the necessary medical equipment. A zombie's hand reached through a barricade, indicating that the situation was worsening. A young man, his face etched with wariness, considered the situation. He was surrounded by zombies, their decaying forms clawing and snarling. The logical course of action would be to ignore the immediate threat and continue eliminating the undead horde. However, he hesitated. He seemed to be using some kind of technological device, a grid-like interface appearing before him. He interacted with it, his fingers tracing across the glowing blue squares. A small, circular device on his wrist pulsed with light as the analysis began. The device displayed a swirling, energetic symbol, a process described as analyzing. The analysis complete, he prepared to take the next step, ready to begin the proper treatment. The scene opens with a successful warp, and a young man is shown purchasing alchemy tools from an elderly shopkeeper. He then warps again, successfully this time. The young man is seen studying a book, contemplating the leaf of the world tree in holy water, and then the blood of someone who has consumed medicine. He muses that even he finds the situation a bit excessive. The next panel shows the young man kneeling over a woman who is lying on the ground, seemingly incapacitated. He holds a large sword. He tells her not to thrash around. Finally, the young man is shown taking a sample of blood from the woman, collecting it in a vial. The scene opens with a close-up of a large, ornate bowl containing a vibrant teal liquid. A hand adds a final ingredient from a small, dark vial. The person preparing this concoction thinks they now have everything needed. The next panel shows a young man, seated cross-legged, carefully adding ingredients to the bowl. A digital interface appears indicating the beginning of the evil banishing holy medicine production. A series of warnings then flash across the screen. The first warning states that the profession is not compatible with alchemy, resulting in a 25% probability of success. The second warning notes the user lacks advanced alchemy skills, lowering the success probability to 70%. The final warning points out insufficient magic power with a success probability breakdown good 2%, average 10%, inferiors and 91%. Despite the warnings, the process completes successfully. The interface confirms the evil banishing holy medicine was produced. The final panel shows a flask of bright blue liquid, glowing softly, the finished product. The scene opens with a young man with dark hair, leaning over a prone figure. He holds a small blue vial. He instructs the unconscious person to wait a little longer. He then carefully pours the liquid from the vial onto the neck of the unconscious person. A bright, golden light erupts from the person's body. The light fades, leaving the person seemingly lifeless. The young man observes the outcome with a satisfied expression, commenting on how great it is. The next panel shows the young man kneeling beside the body, seemingly concerned. He looks down at the person, and then the camera angle shifts to show the lifeless body on a table. The young man retrieves a large, ornate sword with blue gems embedded in the hilt. He prepares himself, declaring it's time to face the zombies again. A young man with dark hair approaches, seemingly surprised. He registers that the presence of zombies has vanished. His eyes widen, revealing a bright green iris. A sudden, violent energy erupts from him. The energy manifests as a dark, amorphous mass that engulfs several people, seemingly absorbing them into its shadowy form. The mass then collapses, leaving behind only the groaning, defeated forms of several zombies. A monstrous creature, its gaping maw filled with rows of sharp teeth, loomed overhead. Viscous, dark fluid dripped from its grotesque form. The creature's body was a mass of fleshy, bulbous protrusions. It writhed and pulsed, its movements suggesting immense power and malice. Then a violent explosion rocked the scene. The creature was thrown back, its body disintegrating into a swirling vortex of purple and green mist. The mist spread rapidly, obscuring the creature's remains. The scene shifted to a dark debris-strewn interior. A figure, clad in dark clothing, stumbled through the wreckage. The figure appeared to be injured, moving with difficulty. The impact of the explosion was evident in the surrounding destruction. Metal structures were twisted and broken. The overall atmosphere one of chaos and devastation. A young man with green eyes and dark hair, wearing a dark hoodie and a technological-looking bracelet, stood in a dimly lit room. He seemed to be contemplating something, a slight smirk playing on his lips. He mused that perhaps only slimes, among all creatures, possessed the ability to combine themselves. His expression hinted at a thoughtful, almost mischievous understanding.